So the last challenge I did with the Acid Soaker was pretty tough, but this week I was recommended to find out if you can beat Fallout 4 with only a baton. I figured this run was doable solely on the fact that perks affected the damage, but since it didn't have the range to deal with problems from a distance, it meant I was going to be taking lots of damage. And to make matters worse, I wasn't allowed to use any other armor besides the Vault-Tec security armor, and I couldn't use a power armor suit until it had Vault-Tec colors. Well, let's go see how this went. I made my character, then spent time terrorizing the family before the Vault-Tec man showed up and I could set my stats.
Okay, so we take luck 3 for bloody mess. We take intelligence 6 for science. We take strength to 3. Is it 3? Is it 4? It is 4. Now, the other thing, realistically speaking, does strength do more damage in Fallout 4? Gotcha. So realistically, this should be as high as it possibly can. Endurance, yeah, I'd probably take. I actually don't think we need any of this other stuff, so I'm actually okay with this.
Then made my way to my own personal freezer to start the run. Luckily for me, with this run being weapon specific, there's no crazy running around to get it. It's the first weapon you find in the vault, so now armed with the scariest weapon in the game, I decided to show these rad roaches what was up. But just when I was about to leave, I made sure to strip naked as I wasn't allowed to use any armor other than the Vault-Tec security armor from here on out. So now emerging back into the wasteland, I quickly made it back to Sanctuary. Then came the dismantle and level up section. But since I didn't take the Idiot Savant perk, it was enough of a level up just to get us going. Before heading out, I checked the upgrades on the baton, and they were pretty solid. One just added extra electric damage, and the other even added more damage and the chance to stun. Nice! But the best part about this was the fact that the baton was already dealing 22 damage. That may not sound like a lot, but considering the last run with the Acid Soaker we were only doing 10 the entire time, and every perk we took actually could increase the damage of the baton from here on out, yeah, I'd say we were off to a pretty good start. Now it was time to head out to Vault 81 to get some armor. The hike over wasn't anything crazy, and once inside we were told the only way to get in was to get 3 fusion cores for entry. It's a tall order, but I need armor, so off I went to scrounge up some supplies. And by supplies, I meant Diamond City. But I didn't even have enough to trade with yet, and where do you go if you're naked and only armed with a baton? If you guessed Skinny Malone's hideout, you'd be right. The Triggermen were actually going down fairly quickly, and with the damage-resistant perk I had and the low level of enemies, these guys weren't all that bad. Normally when I do this quest, I'm at least in the double digits for level, and this time I was only level 6. But Nick was still happy to see me either way when I broke him out of his holding cell. We flew through the rest of the hideout, and turns out the Triggermen can't deal with a high-strength character armed with only a stick. Once free of there, I went back to Diamond City and sold off all of the gear I had collected. I had enough caps to buy my fusion cores and gain access to Vault 81. Only issue is now that I was inside the vault, I had to borrow someone's gear. I tried fighting the first guard I found, but apparently he was special and could not be killed. So I searched around and found another guard who thankfully let me have their armor. After getting some clothes finally, I headed back to Nick Valentine so he could tell me of a bald man that was causing trouble in the neighborhood. I broke in his house, got a dog to smell his weed, and then hiked across the Commonwealth to Fort Hagen. I won't lie, I was still feeling pretty powerful, so I didn't think twice about just running straight into combat. But even with my security armor, fusion weapons still do a lot of damage. However, after taking out a couple of the melee synths, I got the shock baton. And I even double checked to make sure it was in the same upgrade tree as the normal baton, which means now the synths didn't stand a chance. So much so that I was able to get all the way to Kellogg and smack him around. To be honest, we're doing okay. After his defeat, I checked his search history and made my way back to Good Neighbor. I did the brain dive section, and instead of heading out to meet Virgil in the glowing sea, I decided to finally go rescue the Minutemen in Concord. To no one's surprise, the raiders here didn't pose much of a threat. The shock baton made quick work of them. I met up with the Minutemen and then made my way to the roof. Now, normally you could just use the power armor here and a minigun to clean up Concord, but I'm not allowed to use the power armor until I change the paint job. I made it to the ground and was surprised to see the Brotherhood of Steel arrive, and these guys meant business. One of them even had a laser minigun and was cutting through everyone. And even with a Deathclaw showing up, they mowed it down like it was nothing. So with the giant lizard destroyed, the Minutemen moved to Sanctuary and I could get into doing some missions for them. I had to clear out a sewer system and then clear out some mole rats. By this point in the run, I was only level 10 and very limited on perks, so I just made sure to pick perks that either increase damage or reduce damage taken. Since I didn't have to worry about explosives or crafting gear, I could focus on the bare essentials and keep the game in a low level, making this run easier in the long run. While doing the Minutemen quests, I got distracted and ended up having a sword fight with a guy in power armor over lava. Not gonna lie, his power armor made the fight kinda hard. Not the shish kebab that he was using, just the power armor. Another couple of quests later and it was time to retake the castle. Now, the normal Mirelurks weren't so bad. I could stun them with the shock baton, but the queen, whew, that's another story. I could do damage to her, but her damage output was so much more. If I got close, she would do a stomp attack, or if she was facing me, she would smack me with her big meaty claws. I had to hug close to the communication tower in the center and play Ring Around the Rosie while I smacked her if she went after a Minuteman. It was a long process with me dying over and over, but in the end I did finally kill her, only to be chased down by a legendary Mirelurk seconds later. I hate this place. After the castle, I finally outfitted my power armor with Vault-Tec colors, allowing me to use it. Ran around and did some more side quests for the Minutemen. This gave me plenty of experience points to get all the required perks to finally build up my baton to its full potential, which I properly named the Six Stick. Now we had a chance to cause a stun when we smacked something, and the stun was a much needed addition to the arsenal. Now at level 17, this build was feeling complete, and it felt so nice to not have to struggle like the last challenge. Now that I had enough rep, it was time to outfit the castle with a big gun, which really was just a mission for me to test out my Six Stick on a big robot. But with the robot dispatched and the gun built, I could finally return to the main quest of meeting up with Virgil. The walk across Florida went just about as you'd imagine, and I met up with Dante's brother, and almost as soon as I arrived, I left just as quickly. I was off to Green Tech Genetics to fight a Courser. Let's just say the gunners didn't stand a chance, and even better, I got a perfect example of the Six Stick stunning someone to death.
Dude, he's getting beat the shit. What? Are you serious? Oh my god!
With the Courser chip secured, I went to the railroad and had it scanned. After that, I made the long hike back to Virgil. But I'm just kidding, I teleported back there, and got the plans to build a real teleporter back at Sanctuary. With our new mode of transportation, I strolled through the Institute and showed Father my stick.
Holy fuck, dude!
He passed out from how sick it was. As I went to leave, I also learned that if you didn't give Father the option to speak and kill him right away, you could just leave with none of the enemies aggroed to you. Even if you fight them, they won't fight back. But back outside, I talked to Garvey and he said we could move into the invasion of the castle. The end was in sight. And I'm pleased to say this invasion was a breeze. Between stunning coursers and slapping synths to death, the only thing I had to do was watch my health as their fusion rifles still did damage. But the stun was almost a guaranteed kill at this point. Once they hit the floor, they didn't stand a chance. After the invasion, it was time to take the fight to said institute. So I went sewer diving. It got a little dark, so I had to bust out my light, but I infiltrated the institute and summoned the homies. Now it's time to get to smacking. By this point, the baton was doing almost 90 damage. To give a comparison, the acid soaker was doing 10 the entire run. So let's just say these synths didn't stand much of a chance. I pushed into the institute, watching Father defy gravity again, and made my way to the reactor. Between the power armor soaking up damage and the baton either stunning, disarming, or straight up killing people, this was by far one of the easiest finishes. I planted the bomb, yelled at Fake Sean, and then teleported out to smack the detonation button, beating the game with only a baton. This run was so much fun. Like, I was a little skeptical at first, but the end of the run I was doing almost 10 times as much damage as the Acid Soaker. And because you could stun people too, meant some fights that should have been hard weren't even a challenge. I would highly recommend anyone to give this run a try. As always, if you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and comment down below if you have any suggestions, and it doesn't have to be limited to a Fallout game either. For example, next week I'm going to try a Sniper Elite 2 challenge, so if that's something you want to see, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Once again, I've been Chris from Crisis Gaming, and I will see you on the next one.